want to be successful in business. Do you know that the most successful entrepreneurs have failed the most? Yes. And today, on the first podcast series, Come in the Chaos Conversations with you, I'm very blessed to have a very, very special guest. She's known as Mami Negosyo or Mami N. And she has failed over 20 businesses. But today, she is the resilient entrepreneur that you want to listen and learn from. Now, let me tell more about Mommy N. Mommy Negosyo is a seasoned entrepreneur, author, and mentor to thousands of Filipinos building businesses while raising families. Known for nurturing yet no nonsense guidance, she helps entrepreneurs and purpose driven individuals grow their business without losing their peace or their people. After surviving business failures, personal loss, and financial debt, she rebuilt her life and found her calling to guide others through the same fire she once faced. She's the author of multiple books, including Grow Your Business Pinoy, Discover Your Business Calling, and Grow Your People Pinoy, and the founder of mentorship programs that have helped Filipinos find clarity, confidence, and calling and business. Without further ado, let me bring Mommy N on stage. Thank you for those who are watching us live. Mommy N, I would like to thank you very, very much. You are really one of those people I look up to. And I think, when I met you, I think 7, 8 years ago personally, it really, it changes you as a person because you met a person who's really true and genuine. So thank you for being my first guest on this podcast series. Come, CEO Conversations. So, Mommy N, I think I would like to first drop the first question already because
Yeah, but
I know,
before that, may I say that it's a pleasure and honor to be
yeah,
the first guest in your podcast. Wow. So, what an
yes,
honor.
Mommy N.
Thank you
Thank you.
so much for thinking of me, Wanda.
You're the top of the mind. I mean, I know there's a lot of things going on right now. A lot of entrepreneurs are uncertain. A lot of people are scared. And I was like, I want to create a podcast series that will help them, find the light regardless of what's happening around. And the top of the mind that really came is like, wait, it's Mommy N is the best guest for this because I think Umami, and some people don't know, but when I interviewed you like 6 years ago, you mentioned you failed in 20 businesses. And
Yes.
I think the question there is what kept you going despite those 20 business failures?
Well, thank you for that question. It really made me think and reflect. And I guess looking back, what really kept me going was my sense of responsibility.
Mm.
I felt the weight of that huge debt on my shoulders. And for me, it was not just financial, it was generational. It was because,
Wow.
yeah,
Mm.
because my grandparents never left any debt for my parents, and my parents never left a single centavo of debt to us. And so I asked myself, do I really want to be the first generation to pass this burden of debt to my kids? And the answer was an absolutely no. Even with my husband's side, my in-laws, my parents-in-law did not leave any debt. Neither did his grandfather or grandparents leave any debt. So really, it is out of the question. And that was what kept me going day after day, to the desire to be able to overcome this challenge that kept getting bigger and bigger. So even when it was hard, even when I was really exhausted, I just kept going. Because for me, quitting was not about me. It was never an option. Quitting would affect the next generation, and that is simply not acceptable.
Wow, mommy, and that's really simple but profound. When quitting is not an option because of a responsibility, not only for yourself but the generation, after you. That's something that I think we fail to think about. Sometimes we worry about, our own selves, but I think when you always look at the bigger picture, like you said, quitting was not an option for you because it's the generational debt that that you don't want to pass on. Wow. And I think that is something I hope people will remember. If you feel like you're failing, what is the reason to keep you going? And I love that. I love what you said. Now, Mommy, and which brings me to the next question. I know, failure means different things to different people, but for you, what was the hardest moment as an entrepreneur?
Oh, the hardest moment, there were many, many moments. No, the hardest part actually was not just about failing, it was going through everything day by day without any guidance. You see, I was not trained in business. I have always wanted to be a teacher, and I became a teacher. But because of financial needs, I need to sell something on the sides, and eventually I became a business owner through that. It's I call myself an accidental businesswoman and eventually an entrepreneur. So I did not have mentors because it was not the style to have mentors then. When you start to ask questions of people whom you know who could be mentors to you, they were sort of scared to share knowledge, thinking that you might end up to be one of their competitors. So
Mm.
when I asked people, there were no clear directions. They would just either shrug off my questions or just change the topic or just give me something that's very general and not applicable. So I relied on books. But then most of the books at that time were also written in the Western context, and many of the
Yeah.
ideas did not apply to our reality here. So I also attended seminars. And later on, I realized that those seminars the seminar leaders were mostly retirees or corporate leaders, people working for multinational companies. And what they taught us were really some things, information that could help corporate leaders and not really for micro and small business owners like us. So I had no choice. I guess that was the difficult part. I had no choice but to go
Mm.
through trial and error. Everything that I learned, I would try it out and see if it works and then tweak it a little bit. And that was very exhausting because I kept on trying and trying and then tweaking and tweaking until I found the right answers. You see, if you don't even know what you're doing, if what you're doing is right, you just have to try, fail, adjust, and then try again. And I guess that was the most difficult part of being a business owner.
I love the honesty, Mommy, and I think I agree with you. If you don't have the right mentors to guide you, you get lost. Because I've met, a couple of people who's teaching, but at the end of the day, you ask yourself, is this even applicable to me? Because they're teaching something that is not your experience nor your difficulty. And some people, I agree, have problem sharing because they see you as a competition. I remember I have this coach and mentor, you know, towards the end, I mean, she was threatened by my presence. I was like, what? I mean, there's no way I'm gonna, sell what you're selling. At the end of the day, I wanna help. It's about collaboration than
Right.
competition. But I think that's the reality of being an entrepreneur. There's so many trials, failures, adjustments that you have to learn along the way. But this is how you also grow, right, Mom? And I think I love what you're doing now. I mean, when I watch your videos, I really like, have a smile on my face. It's really something relatable. It's something that's needed and something I'm really thankful for. A lot of my friends like, wow, you're interviewing Mommy and she's like my idol. When she speaks, people listen to you because you have that, wisdom that's so priceless and so simple, but it's so applicable to the everyday, journey of an entrepreneur. So thank you for that. Now, I know, Mommy, in some things have patterns, and if you're failing, have you seen some patterns from your side? If from those 20 business failures, what pattern did you see?
Yeah. Before I answer that, I'd like to thank you, Wanda, for the nice and beautiful, inspiring words that you just mentioned. Okay. Thank you so much. Coming from you, a person whom I admire very much, Yeah, it's really a very very huge compliment, and it warms my heart. Thank you so much. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, you were asking about patterns behind
Mm,
failures.
failures.
Yeah, I look back now and I can see clearly that many of my failures came from wrong beliefs, meaning to say beliefs that
Mm,
did not work. Actually, I also see that in my clients now. They would come to me with all sorts of symptoms, something
mm,
that's wrong with them, with their business, with their people, with their systems, their structures. And at the end, when I analyze the root causes, it is all about the beliefs that they have. So, as far as I'm concerned, I was thinking like an employee. I could not shake it off. I was an employee for 8 years, and somehow that has always been my orientation. And I wasn't thinking like an entrepreneur. Sometimes, even now, I would still think that way, and I had to shake my head and remind myself who am I? What is my role? Okay, so yeah, talking about patterns, one belief, all right, one belief that really affected me was this. I thought there was a perfect business. So I see clients coming to me asking if they are in the right business or asking me what is the right business for them. And I said there is no such thing as a perfect business. Maybe there are right businesses that are according to your calling, but there is no such thing as a perfect business. By perfect business, it means that uh, a business with no problems. So every time we started a business and then we encountered problems, we would think, oh, maybe this is not the right business for me, and therefore I should look for another business that's better. Instead of fixing the problem, I did not realize then that all businesses have problems, and the difference is how I solve them. So what happened to me? It's just like it felt like I just kept transferring schools and going back to grade one again and again and again, but never reaching high school or college. And that was one of my biggest patterns. And of course, because of that, I kept getting into debt. I had to borrow to start another business and borrow and borrow and borrow, hoping that I would hit the right business that would pay off all of these debts. And that's how the debts grew slowly, year after year after year, in search of the best business. And later on, I realized that, oh, all businesses have, or regardless of what kind of business you are in, they have the same basic problems. And if only I had stuck to the first one and solved all those problems, then I would have been way, way ahead. But I did not know that. Okay, and another pattern that I saw was another belief that I had was about people, about not delegating, because I could still do it all. I wanted to save. In Filipino, we say sayang, sayang. Instead of paying the salary of this employee, if I can still do it, I should do it. And I just realized eventually after many many years that investment in people is not sayang. These are not expenses. Even if accounting says, okay, classify this as manpower expenses, expenses with people are really investments. And when I had that aha moment, that was when things changed for me. And that was how I was able to overcome the pattern. So, yes, the patterns are the beliefs, thinking not like business owners, but thinking like employees, wanting to save, save, and save. Yeah. I guess those were the two patterns, the biggest patterns.
Thank you, Mommy, and for sharing. And I think I agree with you. A lot of, I mean, when I attend this coaching, seminars, programs, it's all about the beliefs that we hold, right? And as you mentioned, your belief about having the perfect business, about people, about delegating. And I think from my own experience working with clients, I even have one client who cannot even make a sale during the pandemic. And I was like, what is your belief about sales? And she was like, oh, there's
Mm.
no sale because it's a pandemic. And then I remember asking her, but don't you think we operate in God's economy where, pandemic is there, but still sales can happen? The next day she had the sale, mommy. And I think as much as we thought beliefs are not powerful, it actually is. And
Yes.
I think maybe the next question is, how did these experiences change you now that you understand that beliefs are very powerful?
Oh, I would. Thank you for that. Again, no, as you tell your story, I just remember this story about my client, my current client now who owns a salon. The
Hmm.
whole salon, all the employees in the salon business, when they heard about this thing that's happening in the Middle East about fuel prices going up, so they were very, very much worried that it might be another worse than the pandemic, according to them. But I said, no. Do you know that crisis or no crisis, women would always still want to look beautiful?
Of course.
Do you agree? Yeah. And because you are not a high-end salon, I said, you are in the best position to have a lot of customers now. Because the women who go to high-end salons, they would, instead of going to the high-end salons because the prices have gone up, then they would come to you. That means you will have a lot of clients. And she was surprised to hear that. And funny that in the next meeting when we had our coaching session, she said, Mommy, and you were right. We had more customers now because of the crisis, and these are new faces.
Hmm.
Yes, women would always want to look pretty no matter crisis or no matter what the crisis is. Okay, so yes, um, I would always identify the beliefs, which are exactly the root causes of all the symptoms that we see in our clients. What beliefs were
Hmm.
running them? And eventually, we identified these beliefs behind them, and I would point them out. Of course, I would also combine all the things that I have learned. So identifying the beliefs is just not enough. Once we identify the belief, then what? What are we supposed to do? So
Hmm.
what I would do is I would lead them through the experience that I personally went through. That's why when you said that everything I talked about was practical, because it was exactly what I went through. Of course, I learned
Hmm.
a lot from books and seminars. I also had mentors. I had franchisors and the managers that are in those managers of those franchisors, and they would come and coach me and guide me practical lessons, and I would try to apply them, and whatever work, this become one of a part of the knowledge base that I have. So I would filter them, I would keep what work, and I would remove what doesn't work. And from there I created my own frameworks. So today when I lead, I don't just teach them theory, I teach them which something that I know that would work because I have lived it myself. Yeah, so that's a difference, I guess, of talking to mommy and
I think, mommy, and that's the one that's priceless, right? Because I agree with you. Because you've failed, you've tried, you adjusted, and then you have those frameworks which are proven to work already. And I think that is what is very valuable about working with people like you. Because you don't talk, a lot of people, they talk from theory, and you're like, is it gonna work? Or why is it not working for me? Because it's theoretical. But I
yeah.
think when you work with proven framework, which is experience based than knowledge based, then this is where it becomes life changing. Now, mommy, and I know a lot of people are scared about what's going to happen. A lot of entrepreneurs are worried about, keeping their business flowing, keeping their employees. Can you give us some tips? How do you stay calm? I mean, I know this is from your experience. This is just one of the events, what's happening now, but give us some tips, please, how to stay calm during these times.
Wow. Thank you for that. Right. Yeah, I'm gonna be 71 in just a few more days. And I guess looking back, I've gone through many crises, the Asian financial crisis, this crisis and that crisis, fuel hikes. What else? We went through the siege. We were locked in when we were in Zamboanga for many, many weeks where we had no supplies. We could not get in and get out. So and all throughout that time I had I think I've gone to the pits already, the deepest pit. And during that time, I am not religious. I've never been religious, but I would talk to God. I would say, hey God, look, you really have to help me, because if you don't help me, look at my people. These people will lose their jobs and they will go hungry. So I'm sure you love these people. I'm talking about my employees. You love them. You look, I would name them one by one. You look at Eva. What will she do? How will she support her family? Look at this other lady and that other lady. And that is how I would talk to him, just like how I would complain to my father. And through it all, they might say, other people might be surprised that I'm talking without any respect, but I just talk to God as if I'm talking to my father. And I know that he is just winking up there and he's just smiling at me because of all of the things that I've been telling him. But over all these years, because of these conversations that I had, he has always been there. He has always taken me out of the problems, of the chaos. So now, with all of this news that is coming out, especially now, it's more scary because of social media. I have already learned to trust him, not in a religious way, but in a very personal way, because I believe that talking to him and turning over everything to him, I have developed some a special relationship with him, and I have started to believe, and I would always believe that everything happens for a reason, and that reason is always for the good. Just like when I met you many, many years ago, I remember we met in Rockwell Mall, and that was the first time that we met in person. But look, until now, we would pop in and out of each other's lives for a reason. So when I look back, all the pain, all the struggles, they were not wasted. They have
Hmm.
become the lessons that now have helped me help my clients grow and scale. So again, now that when things are chaotic, I don't panic. I just look up and say, hey, help me. Lord, help me. Because I trust that this too, whatever is happening now, all this um, fighting, all this, I know it is painful for so many people, but all this has a purpose. Even now, when we look back during the pandemic, so many people died, but then many businesses started during that time. Many businesses folded up, but those businesses that folded up, I think they found a different way of doing business. So this too, I'm sure, will lead to something good. And that is exactly that belief in trust in everything will turn out for his glory. That is what gives me calm.
Wow, I love that, Mommy Ann. And I think, I want to highlight, a lot of people think when you talk about God, it's something that's spiritual, but I think it is not. I mean, I've argued with God many times, like you. I mean, I had those conversations with God that I really like, I'm upset, but I think it's about having that personal relationship. And I think I agree with you. I mean, I cannot understand sometimes, how did I overcome this struggle? How was I able to rebuild myself again after falling? And I think there's one thing that's been constant in my life, and that's God. And it's the relationship of, fighting, trusting, but still surrendering to what's next. And I think going back to where we started 7 years ago when we met, I cannot, when we, I cannot count what a lot of things have happened, but the
Mm.
thing that constantly reminded me about you is about that faith in God also that you had. And I remember, Mommy, and you even had to share that story that you thought at some point to end your life. Can you share about that story? Because I think sometimes when we feel hopeless, we think maybe I should just end my life because you felt that there's no meaning. But God save you all the way. Can you share a bit of that story? That is something that really I will never forget.
Oh, thank you. You remember that story. Yeah. So it was so for many, many years, the debt has been piling up, piling up, piling up. And I thought that the way to get out of it was just to work harder and harder and longer hours, to the point that I did not anymore have time for my husband. I did not have time for my children. All my waking hours will just be working and working very, very hard to pay off the debts. So it came to a point that my husband and I started blaming each other for the wrong decisions that we made, to the point that we fought, and we did not want to talk to each other anymore. So we were living in separate rooms. I was staying in the room of my daughter, who was out to college, who was in college then, and he was the one staying in our room. So for many, many months, we were no longer in speaking terms. Yet the debts kept piling up. And at one point, I said, I cannot take this anymore. I just want to end it all. And the only hope, as I mentioned a while ago, I did not want to leave any debt to my kids. And one of the things that could help reduce that debt was the insurance that I had. I had a double indemnity clause, which means that if I will be meeting an accident, then the insurance will be paying double whatever it is that I was supposed to, my heirs are supposed to receive. So that was when I said, I better kill myself. At least that will reduce the debt. And the remaining assets, probably they can already pay for whatever it is that I owe. And then I'm gone. I'm done. I was really feeling very, very hopeless because no matter what I did, nothing was happening. So the businesses were a mess, and I tried to take my life several times, but every time I would take my life, somebody would get hurt, not me. So if I was with somebody and I decided to do something like to get electrocuted, for one as one example, what happens is before I got electrocuted, my companion would almost get electrocuted. So it was one incident after another, until finally I said, okay, this is the last straw. I would, there was what they call the Bangkok pills at that time, and people were getting it, taking it, buying it in order to lose weight. So I said I would pretend that I would be losing weight. I wanted to lose weight. So one night I just kissed my kids one by one. I just kissed them goodbye. And then I took a handful of colorful pills. And I said, I thought I would never wake up. But then after doing so, I still woke up after many, many hours. I don't know anymore how many hours, but when I woke up, I was so angry at God. And I was really cursing him. And I said, why don't you take me? Why did you make me this stupid that I could not make my businesses work? I'm doing everything I can. I've been working so hard and yet nothing is working. Look at my children. Look at my family. It's such a mess. Why don't you take me? I said. Of course, there was no answer. But after shouting and going crazy like that in that empty room, suddenly I just felt a cool breeze, peace, and quiet. And then I heard, not with my ears, but here in my heart, I heard the words, you still have a mission. And I was so angry when I heard that. And I said, okay, fine. If I have a mission, then you take over because I no longer know what to do. And till today, I kept thinking, I kept trying to remember what happened after that. I have no more memory of what happened after that. But what really I could remember now is that after a few days, my husband came to my room and we started talking because at that point we were already talking about him leaving the city, leaving the country even to be a TNT in the US. But then as we were talking, we tried to identify or trace back how we got into that position. And we said, you see, you and me, we have strengths, and we did not know that you are strong here, I am strong here, and we are opposite. We are opposite. So where I am strong, you are weak, and where you are strong, I am weak. So if we can just work together and respect each other in the areas where we are strong in, maybe we could make this problem work. So why don't we try for 1 month? I remember that was the month of July many years ago. So let's try to make it work for 1 month and see if we can work with each other in a better way. So that 1 month started, and now until now it's still working perfectly because the agreement was after 1 month, if it does not work, then you can go your own way and I can go mine. But until now, that has continued. So what happened? We were able to identify that he was very good with money, so he decided to handle money and all the external stuff, and I started to focus on the internal stuff in the business. And from there, I guess because there was already harmony inside the business, we were able to attract better people. So better team members came in, the problematic team members decided to resign, and I had a very, very strong, I started to build strong teams in each one of the businesses. So slowly, with God's grace, we were able to pay off the debt that took us 30 years to accumulate. We were able to pay it off within just 5 years. And one of the blessings, by the way, that came was that my eldest daughter decided to come home. She was an OFW in China that time. She's a CPA. So she decided to come home and help. That also helped a lot in us managing our finances, identifying what worked and what could work better when it comes to money. So looking back, I saw that there are things that we go through, but we learn lessons. And one of the lessons was how to work with your spouse or your partner in a business. And that is also one of the topics that I am focusing on in my coaching business. I love mentoring and coaching couples that are working in businesses, because I went through that painful experience and I could guide them now in a better way to be able to work together as couples in their business. So aside from the lessons that I learned from my mentors, working together with your partner is one of the things that helps them become stronger as couples and stronger as business owners. So that's the story. Was it longer?
Wow, Mommy, and thank you. I mean, there's so many nuggets of wisdom while you were talking. I think one that reminded me, I mean, when my mom got cancer last year, it was really
Mhm.
like the lowest low for me. And, while you were sharing your story of want to end your life, I actually went there also. I mean, I remember one night praying, it's too much for me to see this. Maybe it's time, I just go ahead. I mean, it's easier for me that way. But and I remember in one of my meditation, I was praying and mommy, and I was really in so much pain, but I was like, what is this experience telling me? And there was so much pain, but there was peace, and I heard heal the world, and I cried so much because I was like, how can I even heal the world when when I'm in so much pain? I mean, I was arguing with God how to take from here, but I think looking back, even after mom got cancer, after losing her, I think what God made me understand is that peace is not the absence of the problem, nor calm is the absence of chaos, but it's the ability to trust,
Yeah.
and move on, because there's something beyond us that guides us whatever is happening. And I love what you're saying about the couples also. I mean, I've seen men at some point in my entrepreneur life, I was like, should I continue? Most of the successful entrepreneurs are single. And I remember having this conversation with my husband. I said, can I be successful? Because I want to make sure I keep you, I keep this family intact. And I love how you are one of those people who are still married. I mean, and very honest about what you've been through. So I think that's really so much important for people, because sometimes you think you have to sacrifice something to be successful in something. But if you can have a successful business while staying married, then it's better to listen to mommy and because she's been through it, she knows. And mommy, and I know you have so many lessons, but what is your biggest lesson as an entrepreneur?
Wow, it's so hard to find the biggest lesson. Can I choose three? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, please.
yeah,
Sorry.
I'll just be short. I just give short talks about each one. The first one is, again, I already mentioned this. There's no perfect business. All businesses have problems. So our role as business owners is not to avoid problems, but to face them and find solutions, because there will always be a solution. Second lesson is, I also mentioned this is very personal, because as a couplepreneur, we were both learning through trial and error, and because we did not know what we were doing, our decisions would clash. So it became so difficult that even our marriage was affected, everyone was affected. But eventually, we learned that we needed, basically, opposites attract, right? So we needed to understand that my weakness and my strengths are exactly the opposites of his weakness and strengths. So when we started to define our roles in the business clearly and respecting each other's strengths, that's when things started to work in our business and also in our marriage. And that is something that I would like to share with as many people as I can. All right. So the third thing maybe is that, yeah, we need to pay for guidance. Okay, so most of the people who are now finding it difficult to make their business work are afraid to pay for guidance. They would say, why pay when my business is failing? That was also what I believed, actually. But throughout all of those years that I was going through all of the pains in business and in my relationship, I realized that paying for mentors is a lot cheaper than paying for the mistakes. So I lost more than 50 million pesos over many years from trial and error. And now I realized that, oh my God, the money could be recovered. I could make money now, but the time that I lost because I did everything by trial and error is lost forever. So this is why now when I want to learn something fast, I just look for somebody who can teach me fast. So at this moment, I have 5 coaches in many aspects of my life. I have a marketing coach, I have a physical coach, and I really invest in coaches. I know that what I invest are not expenses. They are investments that will buy me success in such a very short time. And having a business coach like you is the biggest ROI that will give my clients, people who are finding it difficult to make their business grow. This is actually the biggest investment that gives at least what, 2x, 2 times, 10 times, and even sometimes 100 times ROI. So that is, yeah, that I guess are the 3 points that I would like to mention.
Wow,
Yes, that,
mommy, and it's so humbling to hear that you still have five coaches, because a lot of people think that because you're a coach you don't get coached anymore, right? But that's the reality. I mean, and I think the three lessons for you is 3P. Number one, no perfect business. Two, partner with your partner by clearly identifying the roles. And three is about paying for the right people to get you quick results. I definitely agree with you. I mean, I wouldn't be in this place right now if I haven't spent so much on my learning programs, courses, coaches. That's really something I'm very grateful for. And I love what you said. If you pay somebody, it's not an expense. It's actually an investment in yourself that is, multiple fold. So, and I think which brings me now to the last question, Mommy. And what is your biggest advice, or what is your best advice to people? Because they look success and failure as two different things, whether they're just starting a business or feel like they're failing or afraid of what's going to happen next. What's your best advice to them?
yeah. So I guess I just want you to change your belief. Okay. In business, it's just like learning about business and learning how to grow your business is just like learning how to swim or learning how to drive. Okay. You can learn it by yourself on your own, but it is really, really very risky. And one wrong move can have serious consequences, right? So get a good teacher, just like what you mentioned. Someone who is experienced, someone who has been there, and someone who can guide you, someone who can keep you safe and help you learn faster. Okay? Don't rely purely on trial and error. It is, yeah, it's sometimes it's even fatal, not just costly. It's not only, does not only cost you money, time, and sometimes may even cost you your life. So learn from people who have gone ahead of you, because mistakes in business, yeah, it is horrible. Believe me, I've been there. So I think Wanda has also been there. So learn from the right people who have had the right experience, not only theory, but somebody who has lived it, just like the swimming instructor and the driving instructor.
Thank you, Mommy. And I love that. Learn from the right people. Now, Mommy, and for those people who want to work with you, I know it's really a gift to have you as a coach. What is the best way for them to reach out to you?
Oh, yes, you can reach out. I am in social media, in almost all social media platforms, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, under Mami Negosyo. I'm also in LinkedIn, Mami Negosyo. Search for me there. Or the easiest way would be to get in touch with me. Uh, Check out my website, www.maminegosyo.com. You won't get lost.
Thank you, Mommy. And it's such an honor. And, it's such a joy to always listen to you. Thank you for your time, Mommy. And I wish you, of course, an advance happy birthday. I pray that you continue to be a blessing and inspiration to so many people.
Thank you so much. It has been my pleasure and honor to be here.
Thank Thank you for those who are watching us live or on replay. I'm really very blessed to listen to Mommy Negosyo today. Mommy N is such, a joy. Her wisdom is so priceless. And I think I want to summarize three things I learned today. 3P. Number one, perfect business. It doesn't exist. Every business have a problem and you can solve them. So stop looking for the perfect business and start solving those problems so you can grow. Number two, partner. Partner with the right people. And I think for mommy, it's about partnering with the husbands to complement their strengths and weaknesses, partnering with the right staff, and I think most importantly, partnering with God. She's not spiritual, but she is a testament of how working with God, asking for direction, help her move from chaos to calm. And the most important part that she said is about paying to get results. A lot of people might be thinking, I don't need to do this because it will be, an expense for my business. But paying for help with the right people can move your business forward. So remember, Perfectionism, partnering, and paying to invest to move your business forward are critical steps to success. And as Mommy Ann said also, belief is very important. And I believe if you have a business, you are meant to be successful. And with the right partner, the right people, the right guidance, all will be well. With that, thank you again for watching live or on replay. Watch to my next podcast on this Come in the CEO conversations. God bless you.